Hey everyone, welcome back to SpearFactor. I am very excited to have Mr. Kunpei Osaka on the show from Japan. And if you haven't seen his Instagram page, it's basically extreme pole spearing, and it is just that extreme pole spearing. And so I mean, gigantic dog tooth that and coral trout and everything that someone would be completely like a dream fish to shoot on a spear. I'm sorry, on a spear gun. You're doing it with a pole spear. So, anyways, Kunpei, welcome to the show, the Spear Factor. Just it's a pleasure to have you here. I've been trying to get more people from kind of unique places to try to shed light on other areas of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much for arranging everything, Brett, and inviting me your amazing podcast. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being on the show. And like we kind of start everything, how to give us a little bit about your background, not even necessarily spearfishing, but just your background growing up and how you got all into this stuff.
Yeah. First of all, I couldn't swim well. I joined to the swim club for over 5 years when I was a child, but I couldn't swim even 25 meters. So I originally have fear against water itself and swimming in wild places like oceans. And when I was 18, I entered to the university, and which was specialized to the oceanography and marine science area. And there was a spearfishing club there. I met underwater world there at the time, and that everything has started at the time. But after first maybe a couple of years, I couldn't catch tiny rockfish like this because I couldn't swim well, and I every time I dive, I just gave up in 20-30 seconds because I have a fear. I had a fear against the water, and I was just scared. And every friends around me catch the fish like nice amberjacks, and sometimes maybe 10-kilo amberjacks and by Polespear, and it was really amazed me. But every time after the dive sessions, we spearfisher talk how was your dive and how was your fish in the beach, after the dive sessions. And every time all of my friends have tons of fishes, but I had no fish. And every time I said, okay, my target is huge pelagic fish, I only shoot the fish like that, so I don't want to shoot such kind of tiny rockfish or tiny pelagic fish. But actually I couldn't. That's so funny, I said I just don't want, but I actually couldn't. I didn't want, but I actually couldn't. Then one day in the classroom, I forgot what kind of class I was in, but I saw really huge dogtooth tuna picture in the internet, and that was a Japanese guy, maybe, I guess, and that was quite old spearfishing stores website, and there was really old picture, and there was a man smiling, and beside him, really huge dogtooth tuna there. I completely was overwhelmed by the picture, and because I know I know some big monster fish spearfishing world in overseas, like America and something like South Africa or something. And I saw legendary spearfishing documentary made by Chris Coates about one fish going with.
Yeah, one fish.
Yeah, one fish by MJK and Chris Scott. And yeah, I know that kind of world. There is a kind of world, some other part of the world, but I thought it's completely different thing. But when I saw that picture, okay, maybe there's such kind of monster spearfishing world in Japan, and I haven't imagined that such kind of great achievement can be done by really near place. I mean,
Yeah, how big was the dog tooth that you, like 100 kilos, or how big do you think the dog tooth was that you saw?
yeah, I hadn't how big it was at the time, but after a few hours, I met his friend, and I asked how big was it, and he said it was maybe 90 to 100 kilo.
Wow, that's a big fish.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, when I saw that picture, okay, this is it. I should chase. This is the dream fish I should chase. So then I started exploring over the country for some years, and in search of that one fish.
And so you were talking about in Japan, what kind of fish? Like in Japan, obviously Japan is a longer country, and the seasons vary. What are like the best seasons for, like, what are your targeted fish, I guess, in Japan, and what time of year do they happen? Because you have big bluefin up there too, right?
Sorry?
You have big bluefin tuna in Japan too, correct?
Yes, and tuna, yes. But you know, uh, it's quite weird situation here, because the power of the commercial fishermen is very strong by the government, and the power of leisure fishermen like us is very stricted here. So especially about Pacific bluefin tuna, it's extremely stricted by the government. So maybe almost no one tried to spearfish bluefin tuna here.
Yeah, and correct if I'm wrong. In Japan, spear guns are illegal, correct?
Actually, yes, illegal for
Forbidden, yeah, forbidden, right?
commercial fishermen.
Yeah. So, well, going back a little bit, when you were saying you were getting started and you were diving with your friends,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of fish? You talked about rockfish. What kind of fish were they kind of shooting? Was it all shore diving, or was it diving from a boat, or?
Yeah, mainly shore diving, because here in Japan, as a historical reason, spearfishing is, you know, It's very difficult sport here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no official charter services, so if we want to diving by the boat, we just have to find some commercial fishermen that and at first we make a friend in commercial fishing community. Then luckily they can take us up to the blue water area by boat.
So the commercial fishermen you're talking about the co-op, like the union, right? Like the commercial fishing individual like organizations you have to either belong to
Yeah,
or
belong
yeah,
to maybe yeah fishery federation. I'm not sure, but some kind of thing.
right. Otherwise, is it illegal for you to use a spear gun, or it's illegal for you to fish like that, right? Because spear guns.
Yeah. It depends on the prefecture. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but mostly spearing is regulated by the regulations for for us.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And then, so when you're, have you, when you go to spearfish, do you travel anywhere like, in Japan, when you're spearfishing, what are your targeted species, I guess, where you live? Or do you have to travel to where other places in Japan, or you just kind of stay?
Yeah, here in Tokyo has some islands, so we have to take a ferry to left the concrete jungles and yeah, skyscrapers. There's no fish here, and the water is quite. So we have to take a ferry from here to access some islands, and yeah. So I think along the coast of entire country, it's quite interesting because every area has every different oceans, every different species, and if we want to shoot some doctors like big pelagic fish, we have to take plane to down south and find some islands. But there are so many islands here, and if we want to shoot some amberjacks, we down to some another islands and like that.
Yeah, I think the most unique thing about Japan, because nobody really thinks about, like, the people that I know, Japan
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come to mind when they think about spearfishing.
Mm-hmm.
But, um, I think of cold water, right? Like, because I think I was there, I stopped in Japan
Oh, really?
in January.
Ah,
Yeah, January, and it was like 30 something degrees,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
was snowing, right?
yeah. Which area did you come here?
I was in Tokyo on the way, yeah, on the
Uh,
way to Korea.
yeah,
Yeah,
winter it's quite cold around here, but maybe it's not the same in the southern area.
right. Yeah, I don't think it is, but it's so unique because is there a growing spearfishing community within Japan, or is it still pretty small?
Mm,
Um,
yeah, I think it's slowly growing, but there's no spearfishing association here, so no one can control, no one can handle this situation, and the government, the regulation is going to more strict in coming years, maybe.
is that because of fishing pressure, or just the commercial fishermen having such a strong hold on the fishing market because of the money?
Yes, the reason is maybe latter ones. I mean, yeah, the fishing pressure of spearfisherman made is quite small, I think, smaller than commercial fisherman does.
Right. That's what I was curious. And I know in other places of the world, people think spear fishermen take up like people that aren't familiar with it. They think we take everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so we had to like try to. So I know the goal was for people to try to change that opinion
yeah,
of that. And it's quite the opposite if done correctly. I'll say that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So with the pole spear, because your big thing is pole spearing. So what was you think the hardest? What what are some things that you do? Because I mean, you're shooting some massive fish.
Thank you.
What are some tips? I mean, what are some tips that you can give people pole spearing? Well,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, what gear do you use? What pole spear do you prefer?
Actually, self-made
Okay.
I'm using, because there is no pole spear which is focused on monster dogtooth tuna hunting. So I just have to prepare my own by my own.
And how do you? So I first of all, I love you just said that because I like to make all my own stuff too. How do you do that? What do you prefer? What material do you use for your pole spear, like length and all of that?
Yeah, mainly in the shaft, I'm using carbon layers, carbon fabric, and in monster hunting, we need, you know, really tough, really thick, long pole spear.
So like, I guess you could say like 10 millimeters, like
Uh,
diameter.
no, a bit more, maybe 16. I'm using.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah.
The thickest part of the diameter is maybe 60 millimeter or something.
And then 3 meters or like length or
Yeah,
3.5.
longer, like 4 meter and sometimes 5 meter.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess that extends your range quite a bit to where,
Yeah, but the point is the power.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So when the pulse spear gets longer, the weight gets heavier. So it means the power.
To penetrate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah. Do you, with the end, do you, is it much thinner or do you prefer that diameter like pretty thick throughout the end point, or is it kind of, what do you use, I guess, for the spear part?
So you mean what do you mean?
So like the spear part, the part that actually penetrates the fish,
Mm-hmm.
do you use like, you obviously use slip tips, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Slip tip. Yeah, I have the sample now. Maybe. Uh, yeah. Yeah, this is the slip tip I'm using now. Maybe. Yeah, a little bit thinner than and a little bit shorter than more slip tip. It's
Uh-huh.
actually too heavy for Polespearing.
Oh, I see. So it's like, so I've talked about this before with other guests as far as the idea of having a thicker shaft versus a thinner shaft
Mm-hmm.
to penetrate deeper like a needle,
Ah,
and is that good because you can bend it and break it? Or like in this case with a pole spear, you have all that other weight behind it that's pushing that thinner endpoint
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right through. So you get
yeah,
that penetration when it gets there.
yeah.
How do you prefer to with your dog tooth? Because I will get to the coral trout or the trout in a minute. The big coral grouper that's beautiful. That one
Yeah.
fish that you have on your Instagram. Um, with your doggies, how do you prefer to, like, what do you look for? Because I've always seen like a rising from a low to a high tide around May for us, like for when I've gone on my trips, May time. But do you do like phone to friend, like where you shoot a fish and try to get a smaller fish and try to get the bigger dogs to come up? Because every time I've seen dogs that are over like 100 pounds or over like really big,
Yeah, yeah.
they stay low. They don't hardly even look, and then they swim off, and they're always really deep.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah,
know.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doggy, especially monster doggy hunting, makes more difficult. I guess.
Yeah, how do you have any tips to like bring up those big dogs or get close to them?
Now I'm using flashers, self-made
Uh-huh.
flashers. Uh, yeah, but the spot we are diving now, I'm diving now, is pretty sharky. Yeah. Mostly tiger sharks, huge tiger sharks there. So I haven't tried small bait tricks. Yeah, it's a bit risky.
How of course there's sharks with the doggies, you know. I mean, how big are the tiger sharks? Are they?
Yeah, usually 3 meters to 4 meters, but yeah, sometimes bigger. And yeah, every time it's tough.
Yeah. Do they when you how do you rig up your pole spear now from where you obviously have your pole spear, and then do you have it set up to a breakaway system where it goes to the floats?
No, just rig to the float line, to the float, and at the end of the pole spear, I rig it to the float lines.
Okay, so the very very end of the pole spear.
Yeah, very traditional style. Because yeah, breakaway system has advantage uh of monster hunting, especially blue water hunting. Uh, try not to, try not to break the spear shaft. I mean, protect the spear shaft from the power of the monster fish. Sometimes it's easily broken, but I have, how can I say, the advantage of the breakaway system is to protect the spear shaft, pole spear shaft, from breaking. But yeah, it works, I think. But I don't like that because you know when the traditional style, rig the float line to the directly to the pole spear, is has also also have an advantage of hunting big fish because no
The
the
leverage.
yeah
You kind
because
of have more leverage. Huh?
yeah because so for example, this is the pole spear, and and okay, this is the fish, and when I shoot him, and he will run away with the pole spear. And the pole spear makes the huge drag because it's 4 meter long and maybe over one kilo, or sometimes 1.5 kilo of total weight. So it makes the fish more, fatigue, or I think it's
Yeah, it slows it down as drag.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that because in doggy spots we diving, there are so many sharks here. Uh, yeah, usually I shoot when I shoot doggies, they easily broke my pole spear. Sometimes it happens, but in that area, I just want to pull the fish faster.
Right. Get it back as quickly as you can.
Yeah. And the another reason is, in breakaway system, the line is sometimes like tangling. Yeah, it's gonna be chaos sometimes. But when just after shooting the fish will be, fish will put the spear very fast, very fast.
They do the initial run, we call it, right, where it just bolts. It just runs straight down.
Yeah, so it's their power is really huge. So I just don't want to take the risk of tangling the line around me.
So when you rig it up, your float line, when you take your float line, do you have a smaller, like a shooting line attached to your pole spear so that it can travel without drag, or do you have it just connected right to your float line directly with no line to it, no slack, I guess you could say?
Yeah, so I don't use a shooting line. I just put the flow line directly to the to the band hand.
To the band that goes onto your hand that you let go?
Yeah.
Oh wow. And then so when it pulls though, does it stretch all that band out? Like does it snap that band at all, or you have line running through that band as well?
Yeah, so if the wishbone comes out from the rubber, the system is divided. So I just want to do that. So I'm using tiny self-made bungees along the sling.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of absorbs some of it, and then so it's still attached to the wishbone, if you will. That smaller line that goes to the bands, it's just attached there, so that if that band were to break or whatever, it's still attached to the pole spear. Correct. Well, it's fascinating because so many times you hear one way to do something, and I'm always interested because pole spearing gigantic fish is still relatively new, and so it's interesting to see what works and what doesn't work. And
It's
yeah,
interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about some of your failures where the pole broke, because it's carbon fiber, right? So I imagine when it breaks, it just explodes or something.
Yeah. So now we are shooting a documentary project, Mission 100, which is the story about my dogtooth tuna hunting journey of 8 years. And while we are shooting the documentary this year, I had a chance to shot really huge one, maybe over 90 kilo, maybe over 100 kilo. I saw the one this year, and I shot him, but actually the situation was a bit difficult, a bit tough. The current comes from this direction, and I was swimming to this direction, and dog is swimming this direction, and he was a bit far off for my range, but I tried because this was a big chance for me, and I shot his back, and I shot his back vertically, and he runs, and at the first run, just after I shot him, he he punched my pole spear by his huge, huge fins. Then the spear was broken.
Oh, so he kicked the pole spear?
Yeah.
He like hit it when he ran?
Yeah. Then it was broken. It was just yeah.
Wow. So I was wondering about that because with carbon fiber is really good, really strong, but impact resistant, it's not
Yeah.
so strong. So if he hit it, hitting it from the side could cause it to explode essentially. Wow, that's some
Yeah.
that's some power, man.
Yeah.
That must have been a heartbreak. Oh, that must have been
I was
terrible.
heartbroken. At that shooting project, we stayed at the most deserted island in Japan for maybe around 60 days, and 5 days of the week it was heavy storm and raining. We were just waiting for the nice condition days in a tiny wooden house in the forest with crabs and some other creatures in the house, and and we did maybe 600 drifts in entire expedition this year, and I made a shot just 9 times, and I just caught 3 fish. So it was super heartbroken.
Well, I think that's a good point, though. People think you can just, what I have noticed, there's an element of luck to everything. People
Yeah,
pay big money and they go on trips and, they expect to shoot this like gigantic fish. And you
yeah,
can do a lot of things to put yourself in the right position, but you're talking about doing 600 drifts, 60 days straight.
yeah,
And that's not luck. That's like there's a little bit of luck, and you still need luck on top of that.
yeah.
But that's putting your time. That's just that's making gutting it out, as we say. Like that's definitely a earned trophy, if you will. Like that is not
Yeah,
something that just happens. So, and then on top of that, I say like you spend all this time in that location to figure things out. When's a good current? When's a good time? Tide, season, and then you do something like that where you're spending months
yeah,
sitting there waiting for the opportunity, and then you get the opportunity and it destroys your pole spear.
yeah. Yeah, that's super heartbroken. Yeah.
Well, at least I mean, you just got to be ready when it happens again. I mean, have you thought about playing with different types of material for your pole spear? I'm just
Uh,
curious.
so what do you mean?
Have you thought about using different types of material
Mm-hmm.
for your pole spear? Maybe like a stainless steel core, and then surrounded by carbon fiber for strength.
I haven't tried such kind of hybrid materials. Yeah, there's a room of improvement of my pole spear a lot, so I'm gonna try.
Yeah, that sounds. I'm still fascinated that you make such amazing pole spears that I mean that do work. Do you have a machine shop by you that you use to make the pole
So,
spear? Or
um, one of my friend of mine is carbon fiber engineer, and so I just have a chat with him, and I just want to use the pole spear like this, and he has a big knowledge of making pole spear for maybe 20 years. So yeah.
what kind of float line do you use? Do you just make your own float line too?
Yeah, so in the beginning I was using the tube inside of the tube, like this tube float line, and inside of the vinyl tube, there is a huge, tough Dyneema lines. But I used it for a couple of years for doggy hunting, and I found that when I fought with huge doggies, very hard. Sometimes the outer tube is broken and the water comes inside of the tube and then everything ruined. So now I prefer to use Rife armored core float lines, and yeah, I think a bit more buoyancy. Yeah, I just prefer a bit more buoyancy of the line itself, but now it works very well.
So I was going to say that, and I don't. One thing I will say about Rife, and is that the thing that I think they have hands down is the best float line for doggy hunting.
Yeah,
That thin armor, like Spectra, because especially for what you're trying to do, that travels through the water really nice. So if it's attached to your pole spear, there's less drag.
Yeah, less. Really tough, actually. Once the captain of our boat, how can I say, he missed his riding, and my float line was crossed to the boat, and that my armored line was completely stuck around the
propeller.
Yeah, propeller.
Yeah, so he missed it. He ran over the line.
Yeah. It was a horrible accident, and I almost missed my pole spear and maybe my arms, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after that, we're lucky enough because that was 10 miles from the shore and there's no rocks around, and so we have enough time to untangle the lines from the propeller. But finally the propeller was hardly very the line was very tangled, very hard,
very wrapped around it.
Yeah, very wrapped, but finally unwrapped it. I found that there are almost no scratches on the line, and I was really amazed by its strength.
That's a testament to it. Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, so and then you use Rife floats, or what kind of floats do you use? I saw the picture. It looked like a Rife 3 atmosphere.
I just want to use Rife float, but it's super expensive. So because in doggy hunting we're using multiple floats, so now I prefer to use this raw Baron Remora 35. This is more reasonable price. And
right, that's actually, I started making, I talked about this before, I made hard floats, just foam filled, because they wouldn't compress. Yeah, it's easier. They're cheap too, but traveling with them is a pain because they're so big. I mean, love those Rife floats, except the price, I guess. And then if they pop, it's like, oh no, I've had some of them break before. But I guess the other companies are really coming out with good products too. They're all just expensive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're saying, when you're talking about putting 2 or 3 of them on there, and that gets real expensive. So
but the boat charter fee is the most expensive part of the trip, but we rent a very old, it's almost broken house in the tiny forest, and no one lives there for maybe 10 to 20 years. So in the beginning of the expedition, our expedition was started with just cleaning up our house, and
That's the way to do it, though. That's the adventure right there. I mean, and this is Mission 100. This is the show that you guys are making, the documentary.
Yeah. Mission 100 documentary name, and this is the T-shirt of documentary film.
Okay,
It's
with a big dog. Yeah, with a big doggy on the back.
Yeah. So this is painted by my friend, and he's an artist, and he's also a commercial fisherman. And I met him in the island that I visited for the last training before the expedition. I did uh, I did 1 month free dive training there, and improving my breath holds and my depth adaptations. And I met him there, and I asked him to make special paint for the expedition, and he made it. And this is the t-shirt. And yeah, so we didn't talk about the t-shirt. Yeah, so what was the topic? Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying so when the Mission 100, that's you and a friend of yours that is doing that together, or is it just a group of guys? Or
Yeah, so this is a kind of indie.
collaboration?
Yeah, indie collaborations. Uh, some of my friend is doing professional underwater cinematographer, and professional underwater cameramans, and some other friends are joining.
So going way back to where you said you were uncomfortable in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're shooting, 200-pound, 100-kilo dogtooth tuna. How long did it take you to go from not shooting reef fish because you were telling your friends, "Oh, I like bigger fish," even though you you said
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
were weren't comfortable shooting the smaller fish or whatever. Um, how long did it take you to think before you felt like you were progressing and were getting better? Um, like, how was that progression, and what were some things that helped you along the way?
Yeah, so after 3 years of no catching the fish, I almost gave up to adapt the water and dive deeper. But one day I found that okay, I did some cycle road race in the high school age, and so maybe I have enough capacity of lungs and my breathing things, and I have nice muscles around my legs. But why I couldn't dive so well, like my friends? And I found that the key is my mental. So I just, yeah, key is my mental, not physical. I found. So I just trained it, and I just adjust myself. And what is the most scaring thing to me? And I'm always searching that, and I'm always asking it to myself. And okay, at first I'm just scaring. I have a fear to touching the seabed by no reason. So
Right.
I just put myself to very comfort condition, and very calm sea, very crystal, and but very shallow, like 10 meters. And I made some very relaxed dive with my buddy, and he's always watching me from the surface, and he has a rescue skill. So I could do 100% relaxed dive to down to very shallow, like 10 meter. And when I reached to the seabed, at first my heart races, but I just ask myself, okay, it's okay. There's no scary factor here. It's
Right.
complete calm world. And then I tried many times to do like that. Then finally I found that I could dive. I found that myself could dive better, like my friend. So the key is actually not the physical thing, as it was in my mind.
Yeah, and so that was a key thing that you brought up, was knowing that your friend was there to watch you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I say that a lot. Even with me, it's like I can add on an extra 20 seconds of my breath hold if I have faith and trust that the
Yeah,
guy is watching me. It helps me relax.
yeah.
Um, so now with you progressing, I mean, how you've been diving for 8 years? How many years have you been
Uh,
diving for?
9 years, maybe
Right.
9 or
Yeah.
something.
And so 3 years of struggling, and you kind of had a conversation, which I commend you for, because I always say, like, that's part about being a man or an adult, a woman, from a young girl or a boy, is being able to self-reflect and say,
Yeah.
what am I, because I've had that same conversation about some another topic, like, what am I really afraid of here? Like, what are we doing here? Like, um, what depth do you feel comfortable now diving to, or do you usually hunt your dogtooth in? Because I know you said you um, went for a month and trained free diving.
Yeah, but in doggy spots, it's as for now for me.
It's the current.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a bit stressful situation, though, very rough with standing waves, and ripping current is very fast, and water is not so clear with some planktons, and sometimes it's super murky. And I think doggies prefer sunny days than. No, no, no. I mean, doggies prefer cloudy days and then sunny days. Uh, yeah, I know it's completely different, and it depends on the area where you dive. And but now my area, it's cloudy days is better for doggies, I think. So, yeah, it's very stressful conditions in doggy hunting. So yeah, my comfortable zone is a bit shallower than usual.
Yeah.
So
Well,
now,
that's different. I
yeah,
think people are surprised when they hear more people talk about their max comfort zone where they hunt, and that it's not necessarily what everybody thinks it is to be a productive
yeah,
spearfisherman.
yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so diving deeper is just a kind of one factor, and it's not the most important thing, I think. Because and the most important thing, I think, for now is you know, the right time, and yeah, right dive and right time. So if the doggies are swimming around 15 to 20 meters, so if they swim like that shallower, we don't have to make a dive to 40 meter. And my world record coral trout was shot around maybe 15, I guess, as I remember. It's not that deep, but I just made the dive in the right place and right time. It's much more important. It's not. I think it's not a pure sport. It's a kind of adventure, and it has a it, it's a kind of hunting.
Right.
So
And then
yeah.
there's a little bit of luck to it too. But yeah. Um, Interesting. So with your doggy hunting, you mentioned 40 meters. Is that what you're typically diving down to, around 120 feet, 100 feet for
Uh,
those?
I don't want to. I don't want to do such a deep dive in doggy hunting with 4 to 5 meter heavy pole spear, and because
Yeah. Well,
just right before the shoot, I just have to charge the sling and very strong sling with my own power and use a lot of oxygen. And
I was saying that calmly, but I was going to be like, wow, that's real deep considering exactly
yeah,
what you're talking about. You have to load that thing and then you're kind of charging the fish at the same time. Right? I mean,
yeah, but I don't
yeah.
want to do very deep dive in pole spearing. Yeah, so when I using spear again in, for example, Greece, I like there for freediving training, and my sponsor company XC Diving is located at uh, that country. So I
Uh huh.
usually travel there for once in a year, and when I'm there, I'm using spear again, and yeah, spear again hunting in Mediterranean is sometimes deep, so I did sometimes like do some 35-meter dive there, but I don't want to do the same in doggy hunting here.
Right. No, that's good. That's a relief. I'm like, wow, that's especially knowing with doggies the current and everything. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, super stressful.
So that's you said your sponsored company. What company was that?
XD diving?
XD diving?
XD diving is one of the biggest spearfishing equipment company in Greece.
Okay. Cool, very cool. And then how did you get linked up with them?
Yeah, so one of the distributors of that company talked to me via Facebook a couple of years back, and he shows my picture with big wafu maybe,
Uh-huh.
and let's do some collaboration, he said, and it's okay. Then I went there, and the full family of the company is very nice people and very passionate for improving their equipment and their product, especially carbon fins are very nice to me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm prefer to using them, and yeah, now.
Very cool. I mean, very cool. It's always nice when you can link up with good people and good companies. Um, I don't want to keep you too long, but I want to talk a little bit about the 40-pound coral trout, that your world record coral
Yeah,
trout. So tell us the story about that because that fish is beautiful.
yeah, it's very beautiful fish, and that was, as I remember, in the morning I I made a shot in 150 pounds doggy, and he broke my system, and he took all the system to the abyss. So I only had the pole spear for tiny rockfish, and that's it. There's no float line, and I'm just searching for fish for dinner afternoon.
Right.
And I was swimming around the bay, and I have a tip for searching a big coral trout at the area, at that area. I mean, uh, if we dive down to maybe shallower spot, like shallower than 10 meter, like 5 to 8 meter, and very relaxed dive and very long dive, like stay at the seabed. And after a few seconds, if the nice snappers, nice red snappers, I'm not sure the English name, but red colored nice snapper in Japan, and if he comes to me, and if the number of the fish is like 2 to 3, there's a huge coral trout at the bay area, because you know, at the area, they're almost the same strong predators, but coral trout swims slower, but the snapper swims faster. So if the snapper comes to me to check me, there would be the nice coral trout at the bay, at the area.
Yeah,
Then
we call them mangrove snapper sometimes. They're just big pargo.
yeah,
Yeah.
be the same kind of fish. And I thought, okay, there's a big boss in this bay, so I just want to find him. Then I have also the tip to, meet such kind of big coral trouts at the area. Swimming, it's a bit difficult to explain, but swimming in a moderate pace with very small sound, but if we did appeal ourselves too strong to him, to the environment I'm in, the stronger creature will escape because it makes him scared. But if we did it like very
Relaxed, relaxed.
relaxed,
Yeah.
if there is a big boss in the bay, he should check me to keep his area safe.
Yes, so kind of I know exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah,
where if you almost ignore them, but the big grouper here, when we go places in big grouper, they're like in charge of the reef and they want to come out
yeah,
to
yes, yes,
see who's in charge, like
yes,
to
yes,
try
yes.
to like who's on my reef.
Yeah,
But
yes,
if you
yes,
don't want to scare them away, so if you just like kind of pretend like you're not paying anybody any
yeah,
attention,
yeah,
they
exactly.
come out and see you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I just want him to come to meet me and come to check me. So I just keep that swimming, and sometimes did very shallow dive and do some grouper calls like that, at the bottom, and playing with small fish at the bottom. Oh, it's very beautiful fish. Say hi to them, and after maybe 40 minutes, he came finally. Yeah, he came, and then I didn't do a dive straight away to him. I just uh, I just I kept swimming like that
Yeah,
around.
you ignored them.
Yeah, I ignored him.
Mm-hmm.
Then his behavior changed. Like, oh, can you please can you can you please pay attention to me, like that, like swimming around me, and then I kept ignoring him. Then after a few minutes, he totally lost his interest to me. Then I did make a dive, and I make a shot, and yes, and I had only one way, because I had tiny pole spear, and I had tiny poor system for a dinner fish. I didn't have float lines. I didn't have one float, so there's only one way: the stone shot to him. So I make my pole spear very carefully, and then luckily the stone shot worked.
Did you have a flopper or did you have a slip tip as well?
Slip tip as well.
I mean, what do you use Dyneema for the slip tip or do you
Yes, yes.
use cable? Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dyneema, and I'm using Neptonics original. This orange line.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I work with Neptonics too. They're great people. Jerry's awesome, and yeah,
yeah,
good
they're
stuff.
amazing.
Um, so, what was going on in your mind when that fish showed up? You must have been like you saw a ghost, because that. I mean, you know what I mean? I think everybody's had that moment because everybody's seen the biggest as you progress through spearfishing, right? Like that fish could be like for let's say for a newer diver, that fish could be an 8-pound calico bass that they see, or where that moment of like, oh wow, that's where you must have been like, oh wow,
Yeah.
do not screw this up.
Yeah. But actually, I was heartbroken by Doggy in the morning, so my mental was, very stable, and yeah. It's cool. It's yeah. This coral trout is very huge and it's very nice, very beautiful fish. But
The doggy.
yeah, doggies, I miss. Yeah.
But
So
those
yeah,
fish, the doggies are so bad because I feel like it's so high and exciting when they
yeah,
run and you see them, and then it's just like an immediate, just it's like they wreck everything. It's worse than I don't know.
yeah,
It's almost like worse because if a smaller fish rips off or something, it's like okay, they get eaten by sharks. But I feel like with a dog tooth, because you see it and everything is just so your whole team of friends or whatever it is needs to be on it for sharks and everything else. So everybody's like excited up to here, and then
yeah.
it just drops.
Yes.
You
It's
know.
like a, emotional roller coaster. It's so many ups and downs, and yeah, mostly downs actually.
It is.
Yeah,
People don't realize that. I say every 10 fish you shoot, you probably land like one or two sometimes, depending on where you're
yeah.
at.
It's very heartbroken fish, and yeah, but it's super exciting because there's no way, there's no, when I started searching doggies here in the country, there was, yeah, actually there is now, there is no people who shoot that fish, that big fish. Everyone, every person who had an experience to shoot doggy is just like 10 kilo or something here. So there's no person who spear big doggies. So there's no way. I totally didn't have no. I totally have no idea how to do it. Where should I dive with? When should I dive? How should I How should I do? And how deep should I go or something? And there's no idea about doggy hunting. So I just have to I just had to find it, yeah, figure it out. And the theory, doggy hunting theory is, I think, it's a bit different, and it depends on the area. Their preferable water temperature is different in the area, and the current speed and the current direction to the rocks and moon phases may be the same, but like that.
I've noticed too, water temperature is a big thing.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's not what the weird thing about the doggies, everything doesn't seem to be what you would think it would be. Like, um, it's a pretty it's pretty easy to know when there's going to be dogtooth tuna. Like, I feel like you can figure it out if you've spent enough time on certain reefs. You can figure it out. Now, trying to find the big ones,
Mhm.
that's like almost a whole different like species of
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's like yeah, it's really strange. But
Yeah. So
um,
when we want to shoot just doggies, it's not that difficult. But when you shoot the biggest doggy in the school, it's completely different work. Like,
yeah, yeah. How I feel like that's the way too with a lot of lot of fish. You know, a lot of different kinds of fish. Like the big ones just kind of operate on their own like their own idea, their own, which is probably why they got to be larger because they did things differently than the masses. You know. Um, so wahoo, I'm assuming you get dorado or mahi mahi, dolphin fish, and wahoo. Any big pole? I mean, I guess mahi mahi is pretty easy to pole spear. They pretty much swim on it. But any potential world records there too? Are you looking to get a world record with those guys, or are you just focused on your big doggies now?
yeah, but I haven't seen such big drata here because maybe the spot is a bit different from doggy spot, I guess. But I saw some really huge wafus. And yeah, last year it was also a heartbroken story. I shot maybe 100-pound over wafu on the pole spear, and that was a dream fish for years of dream fish of, to me. I
For
have been
anybody, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
100 pound.
pole spear.
Yeah, and I've been chasing that wafu for maybe 3 years. Yeah, I luckily found a spot in the island, and I kept diving to figure out the condition of big ones. And finally, I luckily had chance to dive in the right place, right time in last year. And I saw a really huge wafu a couple of times at the day. And but yeah, I shot it, and but just before pulling him to the boat, it was completely uh, broken by some taxmen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
Oh no! What do you have? I mean, besides tiger shark, was it a tiger shark?
Yeah, it was not. It was combined with some Galapagos sharks and black tip and some white tips.
Yeah, they're. I mean, people talk about the big great whites like here, and then we have then the tiger sharks, but I feel like those smaller reef sharks are worse
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, they're very, yeah,
They're
very,
they're dangerous, man. Just because they get in that mode and they go crazy, and then it's like you have this yeah, I just wouldn't want to get bit and get an
yeah,
artery or something. Yeah,
yeah,
bad news.
yeah, they're, yeah, pain in the ass. It's
Yes. It's like a bunch of rambunctious teenagers, I say, like a bunch of crazy young kids
yeah,
versus the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So what's next for you? Like what do you have in your future or what do you want to do? And I guess I
Mm,
never got into what do you do for a living? What do you do for work?
uh,
Are you marine scientist stuff or what like
mm, uh, yeah. So when I graduated from the university, I had a plan to study in the graduate school in Australia to keep my research about deep sea fish, but uh, I couldn't take scholarship, and I found that if I enter the school and keep my research in a graduate school in Australia, it would be very busy. So maybe I don't have enough time to big doggies there. I know there are some great doggy spots in the Australia, but I wouldn't have chance because I would be very busy in researching. So I gave up to that path, and I tried to find some work, and I studied about some internet things like creating some web page, designing web page, something, because if it's all I need in that work is just my laptop, I can work from any islands.
Yes, you're a smart man, because that's so true, and it's funny, with COVID that happened.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
a lot of people realized how great that ability is to be
yes,
able
yeah,
to work from anywhere and how much freedom's in that.
yeah. Then yeah, my work didn't make some great amount of money, but it's enough for traveling and with cheap house and cheap food, and just it's enough for our spearfishing. And yeah, I'm since that I'm doing that job like freelancer. And after some years of working as a freelance, I stopped it and I moved to the island uh, as a, you know, I'm not sure how can I say it in English, but student of the commercial fishermen, like
Right, intern.
yeah,
An
yeah, yeah,
intern?
yeah, intern of the commercial fishermen, because yeah, it was very hard time. It was very hard working, but the if my mentor uh, allows me to pick up some dinner fish after the commercial fishing work time, I had if he allows me, I had a time of 15 minutes of hunting doggies in every day. Yeah, but the work condition was very bad. It was extremely bad. Just just $400 per month,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and 20 hours of working every day, almost every day. But if I had a chance, and if he is okay, I had a chance to hunting doggies every day for just 15 minutes. So I did that. Yeah, I did that job
What were
for.
you fishing for?
Uh-huh.
What were you fishing for when you say you're doing commercial
It was
fishing?
deep sea fishing,
It was what?
deep sea line fishing,
Oh, okay.
or
For okay.
swordfish or something.
Yeah. But
Yeah, and on the way back from the fishing spot, if he's okay, I had a chance to hunting doggies for just 15 minutes.
like one drift, two drifts, one drift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost one drift, but I had a chance. Then I cracked the data about doggies, and then finally I had a chance to shoot former world record fish, 140 pounds doggies, 140-pound doggy, and then did I did it, so I quit the job immediately.
how how long did you say you did that job for?
Maybe half an hour, half of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
what?
once you got your world record, you're like, I'm done.
Yeah. I thought it's done, so I quit that job, then come back to my house in family house in Tokyo. Then documentary project was started after that.
And that's kind of the next thing. When do you think that project will be out so everybody can see it?
Yeah, the final goal of the project is hunting 100 kilo doggy. So I'm not sure, but I really want to finish that project with 100 kilo doggy in coming not so many years. I hope so.
Yeah, that would be, what an amazing story that would be.
Yeah, thank you.
Imagine, because it's going to take some time, but while it's taking the time, it's showing all the work that goes into it, and the skill and the luck and all of that, so people really understand that we're not just going out shooting these giant fish.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That,
so
what a
it's
cool story.
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. It's quite cool, I think, because in recent days we can access all of the information, almost all of the information of everything via TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube channel or something like that. And if I want to travel to the other part of the world, like completely different hemisphere, like Brazil, I can take I can search a flight ticket via Skyscanner, and I can buy it, and then tomorrow I can go to the Brazil. I can go to Brazil immediately, and there I can find everything I want in Google Maps and something like that, social networks. But this almost all of the information we can see, we can learn from the internet is just a kind of highlight. Uh, for example, hunting big doggies. There are so many hunting doggy contents on the YouTube, but it's just a highlight. And hunting scene itself is just 1 or 2% of the entire story. I just want to show everything, and if you want to achieve something true to me, something true to oneself, it will take some time and effort. I just want to show that on the documentary project like that.
I agree with you 100%. I think
Yeah,
that's great. I remember Brandon Wallers had a post of, I think he was lining up on a sailfish, maybe it was a marlin, and somebody had said something about, him shooting it or something, and he was like, do you realize how many of these fish that you really have to let go? If you're looking for a big one, you have to
yeah,
let so many fish go, and the hours in the water, and it takes, man, I'll tell you what, it takes discipline because for some reason, when you're looking for the big ones, the medium-sized ones just swim right up to you, like you're talking about with the snapper. They
yeah,
just come right up to you, and you're like, okay, go away, just wait, this is horrible, I'm looking for the big one. And you might never even shoot a fish that day, and you had plenty of opportunity, but
yeah,
you have to pass to get that one shot. And then when you get it, everything better be lined up, because like you're in your situation, that big tail goes and smashes
yeah,
your I mean, the fact that you're doing it with your own homemade pole spear, you're shooting fish that people would drool, or would be just would be an honor in a lot of ways for people with regular spear guns. You're doing it with a homemade pole spear, and you're doing a lot of that stuff for the first time that I know of, and I could be totally wrong. I know, we're just going off of social media and stuff,
mm-hmm.
but you're having to figure it out on your own regardless. Like, that is that is right there why I was like, man, I have to have this guy on the show. Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, this, wow, he's doing it. Like and it's pole spear. I was like, and it's not pole spear fish like as we think of like, oh, a 25-pound doggy. No, this fish is bigger than most fish people have ever shot. Like it's a proper dream fish for anybody, and he just did it with a pole spear. And I was like, I gotta talk to him because I want to figure out how you're rigging all your gear and all of that stuff, because it's fascinating to me. And then you told me you started making your stuff, and I'm like immediately drawn to it because I started making my stuff from equipment failures too. And I was like, I just do it myself, and then I don't have anybody to blame but myself if it doesn't work. So honored to have you on the show and honored to speak with you.
Yeah,
And
me too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kunpei, for being on the show. How can people get a hold of you and check out the Mission 100 kind of documentary and all of that stuff when it's become available?
So I have an Instagram account, so please check the Instagram account and follow us, follow our information. We will on the middle of a long journey now, and I have no idea what's going on for the future, but please check the
And that's the Instagram account is Mission 100 for the documentary, right?
Yes.
And then your own is extreme _ spearfishing, Polespearing _
Yes, extreme Polespearing.
Yeah, it is definitely extreme.
Thank you so much. But
it's so awesome.
Extreme. The fish is extreme.
Yeah, the whole thing is just amazing. I love it. Yeah. So, thank you for speaking with me, and I'm really rooting for you to get that 100-kilo doggy.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really nice time to chat with you, and thank you so much for arranging me to your amazing podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.